Hello and welcome back, everyone, to Unreal Tournament 2004 on Rocket Rabbit Commentaries. And in this episode, we'll be going into Iron Dust after drafting our team. All right. So, yeah, drafting our team here is mostly pointless, specifically because our teammates aren't actually good. Like Blackjack, all right, what I'm doing here specifically is looking for the high accuracy members. And anyone with that has more than 85% accuracy, yeah, I end up drafting them onto our team because accuracy is the one stat that I actually give a fuck about. But you'll, as Pascardette was mentioning, this is effectively pointless because since we're on novice difficulty, our allied bots aren't actually all that good, and you end up carrying most of the matches on your own on novice anyway. Mm-hmm. To be perfectly honest, I'm actually okay with this, but the one big thing that it brings up is that the team management is supposed to be a bigger minigame than it is, and there are some explicitly broken teammates that will be, well, there's one explicitly broken teammate that we'll be getting later on, but yeah, aside from her, there's like no real reason to fuck around with your team management. It's supposed to be a bigger element than it is, and honestly, I kind of wish it was a bigger element. But it would, but at the same time, it would end up being another thing that you have to manage, and having too many things to manage in such a simple game as Unreal Tournament, can be a bit of a hassle and more of a detraction than a benefit. But as I was attempting to explain in the last episode, I still have to go over the rest of the adrenaline commands. I've already explained Booster, which is objectively the best one, and again, I will not hear arguments to the contrary. The other one that people like on objective focus maps like Capture the Flag is Speed, which is 4 forward commands when you have full adrenaline. It doubles your movement speed, and it eats through adrenaline like fucking water, so I don't use the damn thing. Booster at the very least lasts for a relatively long time, meaning that you can get a wide, what is effectively a full amount of health and almost a full amount of shield if you start at 100 health when you use it, which is why we're using it here. Let's see. The other ones are Berserk, which increases your attack speed. It's an interesting one, I grant. But I don't bother to use it because unless you're using specifically either the shock rifle or the rocket launcher, or rather the shock rifle or the lightning gun rather, your attack speed on most of these weapons is already pretty goddamn high. It's just that, they're not all that accurate, and so having an additional attack speed is supposed to help, and it can, but it usually doesn't. And then the final one is Invisible, which is, I think it's left, right. I think so. I always get the ones for Berserk and Invisible backwards because I never use the damn things. Invisible straight up does not work in the campaign because the bots, regardless of what difficulty you're on half true sight. They just have order you. They order threat drastically differently depending on what difficulty setting you're on. Once you get up to about Adept, they start thinking that players are significantly more worthwhile than other bots. But until you're up to that level of difficulty, they pretty much ignore you. So unfortunately, this is not going to be a good showcase of what the stress and competitive nature of Unreal Tournament is like until the very end of the playthrough. I would apologize for that, but there would also be me not being able to finish the fucking game. So screw apologizing for that.
Yeah, I agree that finishing games is good. Having a goal and then following through is good because the alternative is failure.
Yeah. Alright, so the deathmatch ladder got moved from Unreal Tournament 2003 from an actual ladder of team deathmatch to the qualifying rounds of the tournament. We will be using, I think, do we use Blackjack or do we switch over to Karag? I think we actually use Blackjack for this mission. Yep, we use Blackjack. The team management game is honestly, it is an interesting thing. It is, but it's mostly pointless. Oh look! Ah, damn, we missed the big kick of health. The big kick of health, for the record, is a power-up that grants 100 health. Oh, that's my Blackjack. Hi, Blackjack. Yeah. This is the Redeemer, the super weapon of the game. It also has 2 fire modes, the primary fire mode, which is a drunk rocket, and the alternate fire mode, which is a guided rocket. Be warned, if you fire the Redeemer and you are nearby, it kills you. And if you fire the Redeemer directly at an opponent, they can shoot it out of the sky, which is what happened here.
There's a big keg of health. I'm going to take this and I'm going to go to outer space.
Yeah, the big keg of health heals you for exactly 100 HP, regardless of what your HP is at. It cannot heal you for more than 100. It cannot heal you over 200 HP, over 199 HP though.
Rampage fired his rocket prematurely.
Yes, that's what happens when someone kills them. That's what happens when someone kills themselves with a rocket launcher. Every weapon has its own method, has its own killed by message. For example, when you kill someone with a minigun, you have the chance of it showing up that player was riddled with holes.
Yes, I saw. Or that player A was mowed down by player B's minigun.
Yep. Fatally enlightened by Gurdet's shock beam. Yeah.
He saw the truth. It was breathtaking.
Hence why he no longer breathes. Honestly, the sense of dark, brutal comedy that is in Unreal, or at least in Unreal Tournament specifically, is honestly one of the more charming selling points of the series for me, because I know that quite factually that this stuff would be incredibly gruesome, and it would be very scarring to play through this in a more realistic setting, which is partially why the more realistic Unreal Tournament games after this don't actually work all that well, in my personal opinion, with their tone. But look at the color scheme, not necessarily of this level, but of the game in general. Like, there's a lot of whimsy going around, and that actually helps to define it as a more cartoonish and pleasant world to be in, despite all of the dark overtones and potentially dark coloring that the maps can get into.
Oh yeah, totally. And that's why they let you play as a gingerbread man in some games.
Not in this game, though. You can play as aliens and robots, though.
Aliens and robots are cool.
Yep.
So not only
the race that we technically picked off are I think we're technically the acolytes of genetic perfection.
Double kill.
The acolytes.
I honestly don't remember what the faction that Karag, Thanos, and Kragoth are part of. I don't think that they're cyborgs. I think they're technically, cultists, but I don't really remember. You should notice, however, that a majority of the factions actually are themed around things. We have an Egyptian theme with characters like Rock, Horus, Asp, and is it Cleo? Yeah, it's Cleopatra.
That is fun.
I always attribute that Remus and Romulus are also part of that theme, but honestly, they might not be. I think Remus specifically is actually supposed to be part of the other mercenary corps that holds Brock, Lauren, Sapphire, and nope, I can't remember. Prism. Yeah, it's Prism. Prism and Blackjack. Those are all members of the Mercenary Corps. Actually, I think technically Prism and Blackjack are supposed to be members of Thunder Crash, but Thunder Crash doesn't exist as a team until this game, and that's because Jake. They don't exist as a playable team until this game, and that's because Jacob specifically takes over after Malcolm wins the 2003 tournament. Yes, there actually is Unreal Tournament lore, and there's a sizable amount of it if you bother to look it up.
Oh yeah.
But most of it is not actually in game. A lot of it you have to assume through character bios.
Yeah, and I mean Twisted Metal also had like a canon victor for every single Twisted Metal game that came out, and it is a thing you can look up.
It's usually Sweet Tooth though.
Well, Sweet Tooth won. Shit, I can't remember who the originals were.
You can't remember who any of the other characters are in Twisted Metal. Let's be honest.
I remember Crimson.
I don't remember Crimson, but then again, I've never actually played Twisted Metal. I only know Sweet Tooth because he's the cover artist.
I remember Motorcycle and Skullman. That was in Twisted Metal 1.
No, you don't remember his name.
Mr. Grimm.
Ah, Mr. Grimm. Okay.
Mr. Grimm. Mrs. Grimm would not be joining him, unfortunately. He has to ride solo.
Blue team is the winner.
It's like trying to remember a lot of the character names from Carmageddon. I remember Max, and I remember... Honestly, Max and Vlad are the only two I actually remember. I remember the cars more than I remember the names of the characters that drive them.
Darkseid, Spectre.
Darkseid is not in Carmageddon 2.
Darkseid is in Twisted Metal 1, though. And in Twisted Metal Black. Alright, one more. Was it Hornet? I think it was Hornet. No, the fucking pink Pinto. That car was so much fun, but I can't remember who the name of the driver was.
You see, that's the thing that a lot of car combat games actually get wrong right now, is that we actually do care about these characters, even if we don't really remember them all that well. We care about these characters because they're interesting concepts and interesting explorations of these concepts.
Yeah.
This is me attempting to use the shield gun, and it working, just barely.
Yeah.
The shield gun is a very interesting weapon. Yeah, it is mostly a novelty past Grenade, but I argue that it is actually a very good way to introduce melee combat into what is otherwise a strictly projectile combat game. The shield gun has two fire modes, just like everything else. It has the primary fire mode, where it attempts to charge a high damage, high knockback melee attack, and it has the alternate fire mode, which grants you a small damage reduction if you manage to face the enemy that's firing at you. The big problem with the shield gun's alternate fire mode is that it doesn't do total damage mitigation, and eventually you're gonna need to try and fire back at them, which means switching out your weapon.
Indeed.
The shield gun is mostly a novelty, but it's a novelty that I enjoy.
Wasted by Carrot Shot Core.
Yes, the shock core is the alternate fire method for the shock rifle. The primary fire method is, of course, the shock beam. Green shaft is specifically the alternate fire mode for the link gun, which you can link up with other players in order to create a super link gun up to 2 charges. And the primary fire is the link pulse, which actually does more damage but is less accurate.
Gerdot's shrapnel has at least 5 confirmed kills.
Yeah.
Yeah, even your explosive shrapnel has its own killed you message.
God, I fucking love this game. Rankin is a map that I end up playing on quite a bit, actually, because I actually find it's one of the more balanced maps, and also it was one of the maps that was packed into the UTO4 demo that was out for the longest of time that I was actually playing. That also had, what was it? The Onslaught map, Torlin? Yeah, it was Torlin. At least I think it was Torlin. It had to have been Torlin, because Torlin's the only Onslaught map that I actually fucking like. We will not be showing off Onslaught in this playthrough, sadly, because Onslaught is very specifically an instant action only / multiplayer only mode, and yeah, I have exactly 2 friends that would play Unreal Tournament 2004 with me, because one of them is better than I am, and the other one is not, and they both live actual lives outside of video games.
Direct hit.
Oh, Parrish, you make it so that me not having real life friends is at least somewhat okay. Yes, continue eating those happy pies. Mwaha, mwaha, mwaha.
I will blow you into pieces so you can put yourself back together, for God's sake.
So I can blow you into pieces even more.
Someone was served an extra helping of plasma cannon. Yes.
Yep, that's a green shaft kill.
Please,
that is a link. Sorry, that is a link gun primary fire kill. Yeah. Now I don't actually know I think mode down specifically is the alternate fire mode for the minigun. The minigun's primary fire is a very standard minigun spray. It eats up ammo like fucking water, but it does a decent amount of damage. I always prefer the alternate fire though because it uses less ammo and does more damage per shot, but it fires slower.
French fries, Mr. Gerda. It eats up ammo like French fries.
No, it eats up ammo like water, and I'll continue to use that. I will continue to use that saying until the day I die because it makes more sense than French fries. Some people dislike French fries, but everyone requires water. So there.
Well, yeah, but you don't eat it unless you're having snow with maple syrup, like I used to have growing up.
That's a Canadian treat. It exists in the U.S., but only in theory.
Pokemon made it not to it. It's delicious.
I never actually noticed that Pokemon did that. And in the next episode, we'll continue climbing up the deathmatch ladder.